Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Wichita Real Producers Beyond the Pages podcast. I'm Sam Lucharini, your host, and we are live in studio with Trussell Media. So Troy Trussell is your guy if you need any of that branding, video, any social media, or YouTube management. I'm joined here today with our preferred partner, Christy Almquist of Andover State Bank, and her realtor partner, Sarah Nold of Agnew & Associates, Keller Williams Hometown Partners. That's a long one, but we got it. All right, ladies. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here today and just to visit and have fun. So on that, Christy, we're going to get started. We're going to talk about mortgages and radio and friendships and real estate and a little bit of everything in between. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in this industry of doing mortgages and then how you know Sarah.
Okay. Yeah, I started in really banking in 1995. So I've been around for a while.
Yeah, as a child.
Right. And then I got into mortgage lending in 2004. So I went through the whole mortgage crisis years, and I'm so glad I had that experience because it taught me a lot. But I've been doing it for a long time, and it's just, I love it because you get that one-on-one with people. You know, it's not just like a teller transaction where you see them for 30 seconds and then they're gone. Yeah. So it's something that I just really like because I get to know my customers. I get to know great people like Sarah. Yeah. And so it's just fun. And I mean, purchasing a house is like one of the biggest purchases that anybody will make. And it's a very emotional transaction. So it's one of those things where, I mean, people are putting their families in there and they're going to watch their kids grow up. Yeah, and
they're putting all their eggs in one basket.
Yes. And so if it doesn't go well, then it becomes very emotional.
Yeah, then you guys become the enemies.
Right.
Yes.
Or actually we come together as a team and we help work through that transaction. So anyway, it's been great because I've been able to meet great realtors like Sarah, and she's so much fun to work with. And so people adore her.
Thanks.
Yeah. And so I just love teaming up with her and doing a lot of transactions, and we've had a lot of fun.
Yes. Very good. How did you guys cross paths? How did you originally meet? Was it just like a random having Christy do a loan kind of thing?
Yes, it was.
And then you just clicked?
I don't know if we're supposed to say names. Probably not. But I had a client who was referred to Christy, and we connected and just hit it off right away. Mm-hmm. And it was probably one of the easiest transactions for me at that point, up to that point. Yeah. And so now I send everything to her exclusively.
It makes sense. I love that. And that's how loyalty, that's how relationships are built.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. You find your people that you mesh with.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Sarah, I know we were talking a little bit before the camera, but tell us, when you got into real estate and why and how that's been going for you.
Absolutely. So I started almost 5 years ago already, kind of hard to believe. Yeah. Prior to that, I stayed home and raised kids. I was a full-time mom and wife and ran our house for probably 11, 12 years. And prior to that, though, my background was with a trucking company. Okay. And I was in outside sales for a good portion of the time I was with them all through college up until I stayed home with kids. And some of my daily activities there were negotiating contracts. And it was a little bit more time-consuming set schedule, so I knew I didn't necessarily want to go back to that. But I love working with people. I love being a part of something so important, like Christy touched on. And so this just seemed like a really good fit to me. I have Antoine, my good friend, Antoine Agnew.
We all love our Antoine.
We all love Antoine. Yes. So he approached me a little over 5 years ago and said, hey, I'm starting a team. Would you entertain this? And the timing of it was perfect. My youngest was in school all day at that point. And so I thought, why not? I'm almost 40. Let's give it a shot. Yeah. And it has been the most amazing experience. A little crazy the past couple of years. Sure. I mean, I got a little bit of the taste of normal real estate, I think, early on. The last couple of years have been crazy, but I just love it so much. And I tend to work with mostly people that I know or people that are referred to me from people that I know. And it is just such a really rewarding process, I think, to be a part of something that is so meaningful with them, and it does stick with them. I remember buying my first house, so it's something you'll remember forever. So
that's awesome.
I love it.
And then you've got this bright, shining, amazing mentor, which probably there's never a dull moment.
Oh, never.
And it's learning so much fun with Antoine.
Absolutely.
Yes. We need to get him on the podcast.
We do. Yes, oh my gosh. He is, and I want to be there for that because he is just so much fun. And he just makes it so enjoyable, and I have learned so much from him, and it's a supporting environment. I never felt like it was overly competitive. He wants everyone to do well, and he wants us all to succeed. Mm-hmm. And it's more of a group and a family, not necessarily cutthroat, that situation. So
I can totally see that. Yeah, I don't think you would ever allow any kind of environment like that.
Oh gosh, no. So I love it. It's great.
Just having fun.
Yep,
I like that.
Absolutely.
Right. Very good. Well, Christy, let's talk a little bit about just your industry and what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, I actually kind of have my week mapped out, and I try to group like returning calls and looking at emails and following up on my files, make sure that I have some structure, because if I don't, then it's just chaotic.
Yes. Yeah. You're just being reactive to everything coming in.
Yes. And there are moments when you have to drop everything and make that file a priority just to make something happen, get the closing done. But otherwise, I try to stay pretty structured, and I've really worked hard over the past couple of years to build this mortgage department and really make the whole process as smooth as possible. Communication is huge to me. So I think it's important to communicate with realtors and buyers and, let them know what's going on throughout the transaction. Because when I first started, I didn't have a lot of experience in the mortgage world. And so something that I did is I got with some of the top realtors of where I was living, which was McPherson at the time. And I just asked the top producers, what do you love about the bank that you work with? And what would you change if you had to change something?
So
and they
smart.
said, communication is number one. They really struggled working with lenders that did not communicate throughout the transaction. And a lot of times they come down to closing and they're like, okay, are we still closing?
Yeah, they're clueless.
Yeah. And so it's very frustrating for them. And so just taking in all of that feedback that I got from the top producers, I was like, I want to be the lender that kind of, is different than other places. I go to all my closings.
Smart.
And that's a huge thing to me.
That's a big differentiator.
Raised in a small town and everybody shakes hands and waves at each other. And so that's just really important to me. I went through the process with everybody, and I want to be there at the end when we're celebrating and closing on a house.
Yeah, all that hard work, you want to be there.
Yep. So that's really important to me. But I also want every customer that comes and every realtor to know how important they are to me, and that I don't want them to feel like they're just a number. And so I really develop great relationships with a lot of people, and I get to know them. And it's just fun to do, 3, 4, 5 house, financings throughout their life. And so I just love that I have a lot of loyal people that just keep on coming back, and they mean a lot to me. So
yeah. I love that.
And you can tell she's very good at what she does. And that is why I do. I always recommend her. We work with them personally, my husband and I. She does not drop the ball. She's always there. You can always reach her. And then, obviously great rates. And there's just so many wonderful things about working with Christy and her bank. So
thank you.
I love that. So go a little bit more into detail, Christy, about, you said you've been building this program. So with Andover State Bank. So kind of share with us, what do you want the realtors to know about that bank, about your position? When to use you? We already touched on some differentiators, but this is, let's hear it.
So Allison Grace, who owns the bank, she's awesome. And she approached me a couple of years ago and said, we don't really have a mortgage department, and we need that expert to come in and really build the mortgage side of it, bring products that we don't currently have. And when I started, we only did conventional loans. And I'm like, that is not going to work. I've got to have more products. I got to have more products than that. So I worked really hard bringing on investors and working on in-house products that we could bring on. We have, we offer everything from FHA, VA, rural development, conventional, that kind of stuff. But we also have in-house products that I brought on, which is our doctor program. I've been doing that for 18 years, and it is super popular. And it was one of those programs I couldn't let go just because I've done it for so long. And so it's 100% financing, no PMI. So it's great for doctors, especially when they're going into residency and they want to buy a house and they have a lot of student loan debt that can prevent them from getting any other type of mortgage loans. So we don't count the student loan debt against them. And so it just really makes it to where they can buy a home to start out. And then we have also a professional program. I haven't even told Sarah about this,
Yeah,
but we are getting ready to roll it out, and it's 5% down, no PMI. And it's for professionals, CPAs, attorneys. Wow. I mean, there's a vast, could be business owners, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're starting. And so I have actually my first couple that I'm trying this program on, and I'm like, give me feedback, but they are super excited. They're buying a house for $1.3 million. So
with only 5% down,
5% down, no PMI. Nice. So they don't have to worry about the jumbo, rules that are out there,
right.
Because everything's in-house. So they're super excited. And so I'm going to be rolling that out, and letting realtors know. So yeah. We also have a large acreage type of loan where we can go up to 80 acres, which is huge because a lot of programs out there limit you to 20 acres.
Okay.
And so to be able to do that, and it can be income producing. So there can be some farm ground on it. So that is something where traditionally we always sent people to the agriculture side or the land side to do financing, and they have to have a significant amount down. And with this program, it still needs 20% down because we can't get PMI on it, but it's less than it normally is. And to be able to do that as a primary home is pretty big. So
that's wonderful.
Yeah. But we have so many cool different products. There's more than that, but those are just some of the kind of cool products that we have.
Things that are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That aren't very common.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And
That's incredible.
something that I worked really hard on too, I've worked for a couple different institutions and mortgage departments, and I learned what works and doesn't work.
Yes.
And so I had really great relationships with underwriters, processors, closers, everybody. And so I just learned what their complaints were, what they really loved about the mortgage departments. And I took all of the things that are great and put it into my department. And so it's just fun to see like the result of how great it is from beginning to end with our process. So
I mean, you've been learning this for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
Couple decades.
Yes, and there's a lot of unneeded stress that happens in mortgage departments. And, and I just really, I tell my staff that we've got to have great attitudes every day. You come in with a positive attitude, you work hard, because there's a lot of people involved with a transaction, and we have to make a great impression on everyone. So,
that's right.
And, it's my buyers, so I got to make sure they're taken care of.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, you really do. You put your heart into it. And you can tell.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. What, outside of work and building this incredible mortgage department at Andover State Bank, what do you spend a majority of your time doing?
I spend time with my family.
Yeah.
For the longest time, it took me a long time to figure out the work-life balance.
Yes.
I struggled with that for so long,
I
even
think it's
into my 40s.
Always a moving target.
Yes. Even into my 40s, I struggled with it. And I feel like I finally have that work-life balance. I've finally figured it out.
Yeah. Good.
So when people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, it took me a long time.
Yeah.
But my husband and I are celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary this year.
Wow. Oh,
so we're excited about that.
Yeah.
And we've got 2 girls that are married. And my oldest daughter, she's 27, and she has a daughter, Carter.
Oh,
and we're celebrating her 2-year birthday this weekend.
That's awesome.
How fun.
That is really cool.
So I'm super excited. I told my husband, I said, we have kids so we can get the grandkids.
Right.
Yes, that's
they are so much fun.
Yeah, the grandkids are the reward for keeping the kids alive. I'm feeling that right now with a 17-year-old. You're talking about that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
But spending time with family, and I love to travel. So with COVID, that was so rough, not being able to go anywhere. So we are actually taking our first family trip next week, actually.
Good.
And we're going to be going to Florida, but we haven't been able to do anything for a couple of years. Right. So it's going to be fun to do that.
Yeah, it is. Because the world does feel more normal now.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, without all the masks. Okay.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
that. Very good. What is the craziest loan story that you could recall? And I'm looking for like the juicy, hilarious,
I don't know how hilarious it is, but it's pretty crazy.
Okay, let's hear it.
I had a customer. He has been a customer a long time, and he calls me and he said, Christy, I have to talk to you today. I don't know what you have going on with your schedule, but I need to come in and see you. And so he comes in, and I could tell he was really upset. And he shut the door to my office, and he said, I'm ready to leave my wife. I just found out that she racked up over $100,000 in credit card debt. And he was like so upset. And this is after a marriage of going on 30 years. I mean, they had been married for a long time.
Wow. That's sad.
And so I just listened to his story, and it kind of gave me flashbacks of me growing up, because my mom and my dad, we didn't have money at all. Right. And so my dad was really hard on my mom and said, we don't have money, don't spend money. And she was having credit cards that she was hiding from my dad. And she did all the bills, so she was paying them, but she was doing that so she could buy groceries, so she could buy us, clothes, things like that. And before she knew it, it got out of hand. Yeah. And so as I'm listening to him talking, he's such a hard worker, and he's very tight with his money. And their goal was to retire early. And so this has always been his goal. And so obviously this set them back. And so he was pretty upset about it. And I just shared my story about what I watched with my parents. And I said, you should really give your wife some grace. I said, you get upset if she spends $5 on a coffee, give her some allowance if you have to, and allow her to spend some money. But I said, this is what I can do for you financially. And I ended up doing a home equity and, getting their stuff under control. And they were lucky that they had so much equity, and we were able to save them money per month and get that under control. 3 years later, he came to my office, and he had the biggest smile on his face, and he said, he had a check in his hand. He said, guess what this is? And I said, what is that? And he's like, it's the last payment on our home equity. He said, thank you so much. And, he was ready to leave her. Yeah. And I really talked to him a lot during that time, and it ended up saving their marriage. That's and awesome. He said, I owe you our life. You really helped me, listen to my wife, figure this out together, and we're stronger today than we've ever been. And so it's one of those success stories where, he just thinks that he owes me so much. And I'm like, no, you don't. I feel like God puts you through situations like that so you can use those stories to help others. And in that situation, I didn't like that my mom was spending a lot of money on credit cards without my dad knowing about it. And he was really upset when he found out. Sure. I watched my dad and how upset he was when he found out about all of that. So because I went through that when I was in high school, I was able to help this couple. And so they are just the sweetest couple. And now, I think they've been together for like 40 years now.
That's incredible.
But yeah, it was pretty amazing. So being able to have that kind of impact on customers and help them financially, I just really enjoy that. So.
That man is probably a bigger raving fan of you than even Sarah, right?
He will sing my praises.
That's right. Yes. I know.
But I didn't.
And therapist.
Right. You tend to be a therapist. I'm sure Sarah knows exactly what I'm talking about, because realtors are in the same boat. Yes. You hear, people are going through divorces. They lose loved ones. You become that mentor for that person.
You're holding their hand through a really difficult, or even if it's a good, exciting change, it's still difficult.
Yes.
Yeah. And you do. You got to be there for them.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Wow. I love that.
That's nice.
You put a little Christy the therapist.
Right. That's my second title.
Yes, I know. You have like a little powwow and Andover.
Right.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you for sharing that. So Sarah, let's talk a little bit about just the, what a typical day looks like for you, and what's driving you. Like we talked about this earlier, right? Not everyone is doing real estate for the same reason. Not everyone's doing whatever they're doing for the same reasons. There's different motivating factors. So elaborate on that for us a little bit so we get to know you.
For sure. So I don't really have a typical schedule. I like to say that I work when I work. I don't have a Monday through Friday 8 to 5, and that's fine. But I always work when I need to work. I always laugh. It never fails. Every trip we go on, I write an offer on. And
that's
even if I've not had any activity for months, I swear
you
every
go out of
trip,
town and it's ready. Yep.
I hear you on that.
That is. And Christy's usually right there with me when it happens. So, and I never mind, because again, it is such an exciting time. And actually, the market has been so crazy anyway. You have to move right away. Why am I motivated to do it? I love working with people. I love being a part of something so special and memorable. I love interacting with people. It's not ever really a job for me per se. it's engaging and I'm passionate about it. I think looking back, even when I was young, you remember newspaper days before we had all the online, media and everything. Yeah. I would go through the Sunday paper even as a child and look at the listings of houses.
Funny. That's cute.
I don't know why I did, but
You're whole life, to that. Yeah.
My whole life. And I'm fascinated with, we had a loft downtown early on in our marriage. I love looking at outside of the box type houses. Yes. Like, it's just fun. I truly, truly enjoy what I do. So I don't really have a set schedule. I don't really probably put myself out there as much as a ton of people. I really just network off of referrals. Mm-hmm. I've lived in Wichita my whole life. I grew up in Goddard. We lived downtown, and now I live on the east side. So I feel like I have a pretty good...
Yeah, a good sphere.
You're right, of people that I know. When I stayed home, and even before I stayed home, I was always really big into volunteer work. And so I think that has really benefited me on the backside of this, because when people know you and they know your character and they know that you're reliable and I do what I say I'm going to do and I show up when I say I'm going to show up, I think that really says a lot. And I think that's why I was so successful right out of the gate. I did get Rookie of the Year in 2019 with Keller Williams.
Love that. Yes.
Because, day one, I started on July 1st and July 2nd, I wrote 2 offers. So, I think
it was not normal.
No,
people.
It is not normal. It is not normal.
But you work in your sphere.
I do.
And you earned that.
Yes. And I think, I've been really lucky that I am surrounded with really good people who believe in me and they trust in me. I shared this story with someone yesterday, but early on, my very first listing actually was for a good friend of mine who I had done volunteer work with for years leading up to this. And they were listing their house, and she so graciously gave me the opportunity to do that. And there was another agent in town who must have looked up my history that I was new and contacted my friend, the seller, and said, "Do you know that this is her first home?"
That's illegal.
Well, it happened.
You can't do that.
No, it happened.
Yeah.
And talk about just a boost of confidence. Her response to him was, "Well, I trust her and I know she'll do a great job."
Good.
And I think that just spoke volumes to me and how I have laid the groundwork as a human being.
Yes.
That people do trust me with something so important. And I think because I do probably have different motives for doing this job, it's not necessarily a paycheck for me, although that is nice.
Right.
I never pressure people into something that they're not comfortable with. I have no problem showing people as many houses as they want to see. It's just truly to my core, it's what's best for them always. And, the paycheck at the end is nice.
Yeah, that's just a bonus. Yeah.
But I enjoy the process and the journey with them along the way. And work-life balance sometimes, I'm probably not the best at that too, but,
That's okay. It ebbs and flows.
It does.
Yeah, it's never going to be perfect.
And, because of, phones and computers, we can make it happen anywhere we go. And it just works for our family. So I love it. I've been very fortunate, very thankful for the opportunity, and hopefully we'll be around for a while.
I think you will. I have a good feeling that you will.
Thank you.
What outside of the work, because I know your husband is really busy as well, and you guys have got 2 kids, but what would you say you spend a majority of your time doing when you're not working?
I do. I love fitness, so I really do invest a lot of time into that. And volunteering. I'm still very heavy involved in our church. I was in the junior league for years. I'm still not as active with that, but I am a sustaining member. I've done volunteer work with pretty much any organization in this town that you can think of.
Sure.
I did take a little bit of a step back over the last couple of years from some things, but I'm very passionate about giving back. Good. Because I am so fortunate. So,
what would you say is your 1 or 2 top places or things to do to work out, and your 1 or 2 top places to volunteer?
So workout, I do at home.
Yes, that's good.
I have the Peloton bike and a Peloton tread, so that tends to be just my at-home gym. Exactly. Yes. As far as, volunteer organizations, like I said, I'm pretty involved. We go to Magdalene. I'm pretty involved with that. I love the Family Crisis Center here in town, the Lord's Diner, St. Anthony's Family Shelter. I do probably tend to gravitate a little bit more towards anything involving children, especially children in need. We also grew up very poor. And so I do like that I'm at a place in my life where I can give back to those who need.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. I like it.
Thanks.
Walk the walk and talk the talk.
Thanks.
I like it. What failure, and this question is for both of you guys, what apparent failure or failure really actually set you up for a lot of success? Does anything come to mind?
Oh, gosh. I don't know, Christy, that's a hard one.
Do you want to go?
We failed as a parent?
Yes. Failed as a parent
gosh.
or in life?
Every day. I feel like we fail as a parent every day. Yeah.
Well, my kids are grown now, but
Yes.
if I could change anything, it would probably not work as much.
Like
because
when they're in their younger years.
Yes. My husband, I have a wonderful husband, and he would help them with homework, have supper ready when I came home. And so he was such a huge support for me, but I wish I wouldn't have worked quite so much. And I think a lot of it was just I was doing things the hard way in my earlier years.
Don't we all?
Right?
Don't we all?
So I've kind of figured out how to be more efficient.
Good.
So I wish I would have discovered that earlier in
Sooner.
my life because I don't think I would have missed out as much on my kids. Now, I still went to all their programs, all sporting events, things like that. But I mean, just getting home at 7 or 8 o'clock at night is not fun because kids are ready to go to bed and I'm just now getting home. And I remember, I think the wake up call was when my husband talked to me and he made the comment to me. He said that the girls were upset the night before, and my oldest was probably in junior high, and my youngest was in grade school. And they made the comment, they were like, Mom isn't home again for supper, and so they were just kind of making comments. And he said, we have a problem if our kids are making comments about it.
If they're noticing a pattern.
Yeah. So that kind of woke me up, and I was like, I need to restructure things. And a lot of that was, you talked about volunteering. I got the Volunteer of the Year award back in 2009 in McPherson. And so it was a great honor, but I'm telling you, I had stuff going on every single night.
Well, you were sacrificing.
And my husband said, I understand that you want to give to other places, other organizations and stuff, but we need you at home.
Yeah.
You got to let go of some things. So what I really did is I figured out, okay, what am I really passionate about, in volunteering, and what is something that, it's not really my passion, but I'm just doing it because they keep on asking me. And I had to learn to say no.
Yes.
And that was the toughest thing for me because I'm a people pleaser and I'm like, okay, I can do it. And, so many organizations are so limited on volunteers. And once you get in that pool, everybody's calling you and saying, can you come help us? And so I had to learn to just let some of that go. And, it's an honor to have that award, but it was like, okay, I got to do something different. I have to find that balance. Yep. So
that makes sense.
Anyway, that's something I would change.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
If I
but
could
the
go
silver
back.
lining there, right, is that you were teaching your girls hard work.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So there's always a silver lining.
And I did involve them in a lot of the things. So they learned the importance of volunteering and stuff. But my husband, I remember him telling me, you're not going to save the world. You're only one person.
But I can try.
Yes, I can try.
If I could, I would. But
Yeah.
But
You have to juggle everything else.
and I'm with Sarah. I really was involved with a lot of children's ministries at our church and things like that. And I just loved it. I mean, I wanted to be a teacher when I was younger. And so, that was a way that I could actually kind of use my teaching skills was doing children's ministries. But it was, it's pretty cool.
There's a reason why we're friends. That's why.
Yes, I know. There's a lot of common denominators.
Literally. And that's why I kind of cut back the last couple of years too from some of my volunteer things. I mean, I think somebody finally told me at one point, you don't have to be everything to everyone. And it was kind of, again, that aha moment of, there was some freedom involved with when I started this, our kids were a little older, so I could leave them at home alone.
Yes.
But there's that balance of all of a sudden, my husband has pretty non-traditional hours also. And so kind of had to find that balance in the last couple of years also and kind of just take a step back a little bit. Yeah. I think maybe that's some of the things we learned during COVID too, that, time is precious. And
and that our most important, people are right
in-house.
Here in this home.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's probably the same. I'd piggyback on that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I'll accept that. There's been some dittos, and that's perfect. That's good. I mean, that's
why we're friends.
Yep, that's right. That's like minds attract. All right. So, what is I always love to learn from other high achievers, high performers. What you're reading, what you're consuming, what's made you who you are. So, favorite books or favorite podcasts?
Sorry. My favorite book is the Bible. I mean, it teaches you so many lessons in life. And it seems like whenever I read the Bible, there's a certain scripture that just really speaks to me that I really needed to hear for the day. And so I would have to say, if I had no other book out there, that's the one I would want to have for the rest of my life. So
that makes sense. Okay.
That's great. I probably have a few. Matthew Kelly, Life is Messy is very good. I recently read his Holy Moments book is really good. All of the Mel Robbins books are incredible. Yeah. I tend to do those more book on audio.
Yes,
not book
the
on
Audible.
Tape anymore, but Audible.
Okay. Yes.
And then podcast. I love Mel Robbins' podcast. She just released that at the end of last year, and I can't wait for Mondays and Wednesdays when the new ones come out. She's just so motivating, and she's just really a cool person.
Really positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gives you good little nuggets.
Absolutely.
I like that. Okay. Well, ladies, we are close to wrapping up. And so I told you it goes fast.
It does go fast.
But we are going to end with a little fun speed round of questions. And you can always give the why behind it, or you don't have to. That's fine too. Would you rather be covered in fur or scales?
Oh, fur.
Fur.
Okay.
For sure.
All right.
I'm cold all the time anyway.
Me too. That's my first thought.
Yep, exactly. Would you rather go to jail for a life, or, I'm switching this up, go to jail with a Rubik's Cube and not leave until it's finished?
Oh gosh.
We're all learning the Rubik's Cube, just in case, right?
I guess learn the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
I don't know. Life might take me life, though, to figure it out.
A year? No, it's either a year or
Probably a year then.
Yeah.
Those things drive me nuts.
You could be like my brother, where he took off the stickers and put them all on the little squares, because he'd be like, see, I did it. And you can totally tell that he took them off.
There's no fine.
So probably the Rubik's Cube.
The workaround. It's efficient. That was efficient. So you can get out and get back to life.
Yeah.
Well, that's my fault. I didn't put any of the fine writing here.
That's funny.
Would you rather spend the rest of your life living on a sailboat or an RV?
RV.
Okay.
RV.
All right. That was fun. You guys are on it. Yep. Go back in time or tell the future?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I know.
I would say tell the future, because I can make billions of dollars.
That's true.
I'd be set for life.
Future also, I don't like the unknown.
Yeah.
We can learn from our past always and move forward, but the unknown is very unsettling for me.
I know. I've got good reasons for both, and I've not made up my mind yet, so I like to hear others. A new build or 100-year-old home?
New build.
New build.
For sure.
Yep. And the funkier, the better.
Yes. All right. There we go.
I've had an old home, and my husband is in that trade where carpentry, plumbing, electrical.
Yes.
Nope. New home.
Done
For sure.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Dogs. Oh, something we don't agree on.
I know.
You can leave a cat for days.
That's true.
A dog you cannot.
True.
That is
true.
I know. I leave my dog. If I'm gone all day long and can't even get home for lunch or something, I'm like, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, last question here. Would you rather lose the ability to read or to write?
Oh, I would say probably write.
Okay.
I mean, anymore, you can dictate into this.
That's
thing
true.
now.
I know.
I would say right, because you have the microphone that'll
Yeah,
convert it to
exactly.
text,
Yep.
whatever.
And you can still read and consume knowledge,
Yes.
and then share knowledge just verbally.
Absolutely.
I agree with you on that one. Okay. Well, ladies, thank you so much.
So fun.
I
Thanks
know.
for having us.
Thank you for getting out of your comfort zone.
Oh, this is way out of my comfort zone,
I
but
know
I enjoyed
this is new to you, but you used to be in radio, so this is old hat for you.
Yes.
Right? Yes. I know. I love it. Well, thank you, both of you, ladies. And that's a wrap. So be sure you subscribe here to our YouTube channel for Wichita Real Producers, because we are dropping a podcast every week. And thank you for watching.